Hello, and welcome to Marathon Swim Stories, where we explore the human side of the superhuman feats of endurance swimmers and those who support them. I'm marathon swimmer and coach Shannon Keegan. In today's episode of Marathon Swim Stories, I had a chat with Jersey Islander Andy Truscott. We met on Clubhouse. Have you heard of it? I think it's classed as a social listening platform or something like that. I can see the appeal, but haven't figured out how to fit it into my schedule, especially during these busy summer months. I'm in awe of the spontaneity that drove Andy on his first swim around the island of Jersey in 2001. And with 6 circumnavigations under his belt, he has certainly gotten to know that island from the water. In our conversation, we agreed that you don't want to overdo it in your training. You've got to leave something for the day. I hope you enjoy Andy's story. Andy, thank you for being my guest today. Tell me,
Thank you.
what's your story?
Okay. I come from Jersey, the original Jersey down in Channel Islands.
That's right, the
Um,
original.
the original one. If for those listening, those that don't know it, it's roughly in between England and France. It's about 18 miles away from France. It's a lovely little island, sunny place. I was born here, grew here, and never left. And basically, I started swimming from a very young age in pool swimming. I then trained with the local swimming club here, which was Tigers at the time, Regent Tigers. From there, I've gone on to do national swimming. I did from memory, in 97, I think it was. 97, I made nationals for 200 fly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't feel awesome after it. I can assure you. That's the same year I kind of, under my coach, I kind of blossomed in 97. And from there, I did nationals. I did what is classed as the Island Games. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Island Games.
Tell us about
It's
him.
it's like a little mini Olympics,
Okay.
but it's for all the islands in the world.
Oh,
So
awesome.
if you're an island, you come together every 2 years and you compete. They've got all the different events, the athletics, volleyball, gymnastics, all that kind of stuff. So I was lucky enough to be picked for Jersey for the 1500 freestyle.
Oh, cool.
I chopped and changed my events depending on the swimming gala and who else had entered.
Yeah.
I tried I somehow try to always find the loophole in, if there's a major meet coming up and I wanted to be a part of the team, then I'd look who else was competing, where I could get in on the team. So
Yeah.
I
That's
did I did the 1500 freestyle for that,
mm-hmm.
which was probably one of my best meets yet, because the 1500 was on the first day of the meet, and I was just purely solely going there for the 1500, which was
Mm-hmm.
great because it was the first event, and it was literally 2 hours into the start of the meet. That was it. My week was done. So
Yeah.
it was great. So I stayed with the team for a week. I Although didn't need to, I elected to go up for the warm up every morning, go support the team, sit on poolside, um, yeah, and just be chief supporter. So
Yeah.
that was good. And in recognition of that, I think they chucked me into the 8x50 mixed relay at
Ah.
the end.
Uh-huh.
Um, I wasn't very much of a sprinter,
Okay.
but um, they let me do the heat, and then they kicked me out on the final.
Yeah.
But it was good because I'd been there all week. They let me have a blowout swim, which was all right actually. I got a PB and I held my own. Um, and then they went on in the final. I think we were ranked first in because we had a pretty strong team anyway across the board. So we ranked first going into the finals.
Wow.
And then there's me and one other came out, and the big guns went in.
Uh-huh.
and they won.
Yeah.
But because I swam the heat, I got gold, so
Yeah. Oh,
it's fine.
nice.
It's fine. I'm an Island Games gold medalist.
There we go. That's amazing.
That's me. That swimming career over.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Check it. Done.
But then that was back in '97. So I was 16 then.
Okay.
But at the age of 14, they had what was the Jersey Amateur Swimming Association open water 5K race. So I entered that and I came first. I won that at 14. And from there, I kind of fell in love with open water swimming. I
Mm-hmm.
stayed with it until roughly 2001.
Okay.
So I was there for the best part of 8 years.
Okay.
Came away from swimming. I kind of in 2001 I quit swimming altogether. Came
Mm-hmm.
out of the pool. Um, Found my what was my ex-wife, and love of food and beer and all that kind of stuff. So I came away from being the true athlete
Yeah.
and came into the time to go to work and family lifestyle.
Yeah.
Grew up, and then 2011 we went through a bit of a tough divorce. It was quite messy. Um, and it was the same time that my dad was diagnosed with this terminal leukemia.
Oh my goodness.
So it's an interesting time because I'd moved back home.
Yeah.
Because I was lucky enough, mum and dad they had a 3-bedroom house, but I was in the second bedroom. But then when dad got diagnosed with terminal leukemia, I had to go and sleep in the third bedroom because mum was sleeping in the second bedroom
Mm-hmm.
because dad had to have his room cleaned every day
Oh
and
wow.
because of
Yeah.
his immune system. So because it was an office, we decided we won't go empty the office out because we didn't want to upset dad going through a tough time. So I slept on a inflatable bed for 3 years underneath the office desk,
Wow.
which was interesting in itself. Um, and
It
from
teaches you
there,
something about that tells us a little bit though about your endurance, I think.
yeah, my stubbornness.
With your ability to put yourself in an uncomfortable position and stick with it.
Yeah. And then from there, 2000, that's 2011, and then that went on till 2014, and dad passed away,
Sorry.
and that's okay. And the divorce had gone through and all that kind of stuff. So it was fine. And then I moved back into a normal bedroom with a bed. And life started to pick up a bit. And I decided to go back into swimming, which was it's my security blanket, as you'd say. So I went back to my swimming club, trained with a new coach, pool swimming, went to Canada in 2015 for the World Masters Championships, where I was looking for some kind of punishment, I reckon. I did 200 backstroke,
Oh.
200 IM, 50 freestyle, 50 back, and 50 fly. Which I was lucky enough. I think two out of the 5 events were top 10 finishers.
Nice.
And the others were top 40, shall we say?
Sure.
Well, yeah, because 38 and 39 is in 40, so top 40 finish. So that was where I kind of learnt again that my love of open water was still there. I think
why am I at this pool meet again?
because I soon realised that the training for pool swimming, I no longer had the speed. I was getting excuse the French, my ass beat. And I was twice the size of every other bloke that stood on the block. And I was like, you know what? To race these guys, you've got to lose a bit of weight and everything else. And I was like, yeah, no. So then I came back home, had a word with myself on the way home on the plane, and elected to I had signed up for my first swim back in open water Um, I hadn't even started to train then, and I'd signed up for Tampa Bay.
Oh, really? Wow.
So I was like, okay,
26. So you'd done a
yeah.
5K when you were 14. You maybe did some other open water. Did you do anything else long in that period? That.
2001, I did my first round island.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Got it.
that was memory is 10 hours 39
Okay.
back in 2001, and then as I say, I left the sport, and then I came back in 2015
Mm-hmm.
and signed up to Tampa Bay. So I was
Tampa
like,
Bay.
okay. So I started to train a little bit, went over to Tampa by myself, and got a crew out there, and it didn't go smoothly. My kayaker um, fell in the water a few times. He got fed
Oh,
up and
goodness.
he got fed up and then left.
Oh,
So I was
goodness.
left without a kayaker. I just had a boat, and then it, yeah, it just wasn't great swim. Everything that could have gone wrong did, but it wasn't from my side. It was more from the crew and the
Mm.
boat, and it was a first time boater, and they were fantastic. They dealt with it with the best they could. So we slogged through a very tough Tampa Bay.
Wow.
It was one of those ones where you knew you could finish it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going to be quick. It wasn't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
But I was cooling up that beach at the end. So
Yeah.
we went and did that, and we got in just under 14 hours.
Wow.
So we cruised through that, and then I came home and I set my sights on a Jersey to France. Yeah, Jersey to France was next.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the Jersey to France. My memory is going blank now. So
Let's
I
go
did
back.
the
Let's go back to so what was your first long like thing? So you did the 5K at 14 and you did
yeah.
Round Island in 2001. Was that like what was the first like kind of official marathon?
That would have been my Round Island in 2001.
And
And
what's the kilometers on that?
I think it's in something like 44, is it?
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds yeah. So what made you
it's
think
around.
like you I mean you'd been doing open water swimming, but what made you think I want to swim? I want to swim around Jersey Island.
I think there back in them days, the long distance swimming club was slightly. It was run by Sally and Charlie,
Oh, okay.
um,
Okay.
who everyone knows who they are.
Yeah, yeah,
And
Sally.
back in them days, you used to have to go and ask to swim around with the club and everything else. And I kind of got on my swim. When I rang up and asked to do the Round Island, I kind of got a rejection saying you're new to the sport.
Mm,
You've got to train a bit more. We don't think you can do it. And they, to be fair, they probably didn't know me back then.
mm-hmm.
That if you tell me I can't do something or I'm not good enough,
You're like,
then
I'm doing
that's
this.
enough
Mhm.
to poke the bear.
Yeah.
So I rang up a mate of mine who's training under me at the moment. He had a boat, so I said, "Can you meet me tomorrow morning at 5?" I rang another work colleague of mine who kayaked, and I rang my swim coach up and asked her to officiate. And that the next morning we met and we just did the 10.5 hours around Jersey. And
Oh, wow.
it was more to be. I was young, I
Yeah,
was stubborn, and if you told me I couldn't do something, then
you're gonna
that
go do
wasn't that wasn't gonna hold me back.
it.
So
Right, right.
I kind of threw my toys out the pram and went and just did it with
Yeah.
a, a lack of training.
Okay.
You get that phrase that will be a common thing that will go through is
Okay. Okay.
lack of training.
Okay. Okay. Let's
So
let's set in this for a second though. So you decide to go out. What was it like that you decide no training? Someone told you you can't do this. You're doing it anyway. What was it like that day?
it was hard.
Yeah.
It's tough. At the age of what was it 16, 17, 18, 19, I was 20,
Okay.
and sports science wasn't a big thing back then
Mm-hmm.
in 2001. It was
Mm-hmm.
only just coming out and
Yeah.
everything, so we didn't have any of these energy drinks that we have now, CMP
Right.
and all that.
Right.
So it was like, okay, what am I having? Right, I'm going to take a bottle of Coke with me. I'm going to take a Ribena. I'm going to take some bananas and some I had an energy drink. It was like Red Bull, but it was a different variety that they had back then. And then I had some jelly babies. So it wasn't too far away from where we are at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just no CMP. It was all fizzy drinks and really useful sweets that, yeah, were tasting nice, but didn't really give you any energy.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was, and because I hadn't really done any training under anyone, I didn't know what to expect or
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I kind of went in, and my first feed was at 4.5 hours.
Because you're tired, you're like, I'm really hungry.
Well, we didn't know what to do or
Yeah,
anything. We
yeah,
just went on a wing and a prayer. So it
yeah,
was like, okay, we'll just swim until I get hungry,
yeah.
and then we'll have a feed, and then we'll carry on till we're hungry. So then after 4.5 hours, I think I went on for another 2 and a bit hours, and then decided I was hungry, and then had another meal, and then we just kind of just, yeah, threw everything at it just as and when we needed to,
Mm-hmm.
and it, as the saying goes, just keep swimming. That's all we did on that
Yeah,
day, was
yeah.
just keep swimming. And when the belly grumbled, we just threw something at it and just hoped it would stay.
Yeah.
And I remember coming across the West Coast, St. One's Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, around Jersey, you've got the west and the east coast of the shorter sides, the five
Okay.
miles,
Okay.
and then you've got the 9 miles at the top bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd gone from the start around the east coast 5 miles, along the top coast 9, and then you turn the corner. And the 5 mile road, it's long, but because of the way the tides are, it takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
And all you've got
Yeah.
in the far distance is the lighthouse, which never ever appears to come any quicker.
Right.
It just stays there in the distance, and
Yeah.
it kind of taunts you. It's like,
Yeah.
"Ha, I'm here. I'm not coming any closer."
Yeah.
And it rained as I turned the corner. It just rained, and I remember literally crying to myself that I had got to the west coast and I'd gone through every emotion the swimmer
Mm.
could go through. And I think that swim built me up for the rest of my career, because
Yeah.
having done it tough, and I say that in a loose term, tough, because it was a more of a stupid swim to do, because you hadn't trained, you hadn't
Right.
got any experts, you just doing it on a wing and a prayer, and it was tough because I didn't have a clue, and I was just doing it all against everyone's say so.
Mm-hmm.
I went through every emotion you could go. I was happy at the beginning, then
Mm-hmm.
4 hours into it, I was hungry and thinking to myself, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
By 6 hours, I wanted to go home. 7 hours, I was crying.
Yeah.
And then as you come around Corbière, you could see the finish,
Mm-hmm.
although it's about 4 miles ahead of you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah. And then you're happy again.
Yeah.
And then you keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
And then when you touch the wall, you're like, thank God it's finished.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's like, get me home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, suffice to say, you learned a thing or two in that swim.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned how to swim a hard round Jersey,
Yeah.
and um, let's say it's only got marginally better. I'm stubborn and I don't learn,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're still there now.
Yeah. No, I know. I think I know what you mean. I have a maybe different training philosophy than some, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When I finish, and like it reinforces, like, well, but it worked, like, but I trust the process, I guess, and I trust my
Yeah,
technique, and my technique, and whatever. So
I'm the same. I think some of the swims I've been lucky.
yeah.
I know that, but to date I've only not finished one of them, which was my last swim. But every swim I did, I finished, and I believed in my training
Mm-hmm.
ethics.
Training, right? Whatever the training is, but you're training.
Yeah, yeah. I've done the training that I needed to finish. Not
Yeah.
everybody would like to swim a fast time.
Right.
I just, if I finish, then that's what I was there to do,
Yeah.
to start the swim and to finish the swim, and that's what I've done. And yeah, I know for a fact because I've had many conversations with many people, that some people take a disliking to my training regime or the lack of. But in my mind, there's different horses and courses.
Yeah.
I started swimming at a very young age, and when I was in the pool, I used to swim 80K a week.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So in my mind, I've got
This
swims
huge
in the
base.
shoulder,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's. I'm not going to go and swim the channel with absolute no training,
Right.
but I do enough training for me to get across the channel, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've always, from day one, even in pool swimming, I've always been one of less is more. And it's more quality work than
Yeah.
quantity. And
That's a ticket for me, is it quality. And all those 80K, whatever I was doing as a kid, I wasn't having good technique. So I feel like I'm deprogramming some bad habits I had. And to me, it's more important about having my good technique for the next thousands of millions of miles I end up doing the rest of my life, and being able to continue doing that. So I don't want to break myself in my training, I guess. I save it for the event.
exactly that. So yeah, we then went from there. I came back, did a little bit of hard training for Tampa, but it didn't go my way. And then from there we came back and did a Jersey to France swim, which was interesting. It was my first local swim since 2001. And I got in and did a 7 hours and 7 minutes swim, which was a local record at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. It's a local record. Apart from a local lady by the name of Tasmin went the very next day and beat me by a couple of minutes. So it was the shortest, longest record to stand. So that kind of spurred me on a little bit to go, you know what, the overall record from there was only 40 minutes quicker. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I can tackle that. That's not a problem. So I was challenged to a charity event race that I had made up with this other chap. He's an endurance athlete, but not a swimmer. He was an endurance runner. He had done all the long 100K runs and all that kind of stuff. So he said, let's get together and do an event where we can raise money for charity. So I said, a hospice, because that's where my dad was. So he's like, yeah, fine. So we ended up running from the middle of Jersey round the outside to St. Catherine's, which was on the east side, which was about 11-mile run.
Wow.
And anyone who knows me or sees a picture of me will automatically know that I'm no runner. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then we would go from St. Catherine's across to Port, which was the Jersey to France route. And then the day before, we had sent our crews over on the boat, and they'd driven up to Port with our bikes, and we would go cycle from the edge. We would go cycle 300K to the Arc de Triomphe. Wow. So it's like a mini Arc to Arc.
Yeah.
So we set off, I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we ran to St. Catherine's. Now, he ended up being at St. Catherine's because I actually trained quite hard for that event, but I only trained running.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I could swim, and I knew that I was okay on the bike, I could pedal. So I knew if I had any chance of beating him, I had to improve my running because he was a runner. So we were sponsored by several people. The boat company let us on the boat for free with our crews.
Oh, wow.
And then we employed this company who run events, and they gave us a tracker. So we wore a tracker, and they did a computer screen with two people, and you could watch your tracker moving up.
Wow.
So we we formed the run, and we knew the run route. We did the same one. The swim route was pretty much similar. And then we said, once we hit France, you pick your own route.
Oh.
It's a free for all to get down to Paris.
Okay.
So looking at the map from where we were in Port Bay, there was 2 routes. There's a longer route, which was completely flat.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a shorter route, but it had a 20-minute hill climb in the middle of it.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, well, I'm going for the shorter one.
Okay.
I'm going for the shorter one, and I'm just going to deal with the hill climb. And we hadn't spoken to each other about it, but he picked the longer one.
Uh-huh.
But he was also a cyclist as well as a runner.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. So we'd done the run, and then we got to the beach, and we had about half an hour before we were due to go off on the swim. So we drew a line at St. Catherine's before the event, and as you stepped over it, the stopwatches stopped, and then you got in swim. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And he on the run, it worked out about an hour, just under an hour. He was ahead of me. So I knew going into the swim, we stood on the beach ready for the klaxon, and I was already, I think it was 56 minutes down on him.
Yeah.
So I was up against it, because I had worked out in my mind, and I'm a numbers person, and I kind of worked out that I had to be no more than 40 minutes to stand a chance of beating him.
Okay.
So I'd lost 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, okay, well, we'll just give everything in the swim and just go for it.
Yeah.
So when it went off, I just went out like the clappers, vroom, gone. And then it was literally 6.5 hours later, I called up the beach. And it wasn't until I turned around that because we had also put observers on the boat as well, because it was still the same swim.
Yeah.
Just in an event. So we put the observers on, and it wasn't until I walked up the beach that my crew on the beach said that they had a call that I had broken the overall swim record for Jersey to France during it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then I think everyone put it down to the fact that I was warmed up from this run.
Yeah.
But I was like a glowing beacon. I was bright red.
That's how I get when I work hard too.
But this chap, he wasn't a swimmer, and we did agree before the whole event that he could wear a wetsuit for the swim, but if he wore a wetsuit, he would have to take an hour's penalty.
Oh.
Because wearing a wetsuit's quicker than not wearing a wetsuit.
Yeah.
And we worked out over 18 miles. I had worked out that it equated to an hour being quicker. So he accepted the hour. So we then on the swim just went for it, got out the water, and I elected to get straight on the bike and get up the road. I was like, right, I want to get out of his sight. I don't want him to see me. It's out of sight, out of mind. So we got on the road and we went for it. And it was like literally 3 hours later, the crew pulled up alongside me in the van, and they said he just got out the water.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And we were from there. The crew in the van had the trackers, so they could see where we were.
Yeah.
And he elected to get out of the swim because he wasn't a swimmer. Yeah. He did the swim in 9.5 hours. He then got in his support vehicle and went to sleep for 3 hours because he was knackered. So I was like, okay. I was like that to my crew. If he's sleeping, we are going.
Yeah.
So we went. And it wasn't until about 2:00 in the morning where I literally fell off the bike in a bush. I was like, so they kind of stopped and said, right, that's it. You've got to sleep. So we had a 3-hour sleep, and then we got back on the bike and off we went again, did the hill, came down, it was about 25 minutes to get up the hill. And then I think they clocked me at 63k coming down the back of it.
Wow.
But it was like it's like a train, ain't it? when you've got a 16-stone fella on a bike and he's just tucked up like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Just a
Oh
rock.
my God.
Yeah.
But then the route, I was coming in from the top of Paris and he had come down and he was coming in at the side. But he had the longer cycle, but it was flatter. So he was going a lot quicker than what I was because I had all the hills.
Yeah.
And we were literally, we could see it coming in like this together.
Oh, wow.
Together.
Oh, wow.
And I managed to get onto the Arc de Triomphe and I finished under the arch. I think it was 9.5 minutes before him.
Wow. Wow.
And it was we had raced for 34.5 hours.
Wow.
And
That's
there was
amazing.
just 9 minutes in it. I wasn't aware that you weren't allowed a bike underneath the arch.
Oh, no. Uh-oh.
Because I stopped because it's in a big roundabout, isn't it?
Oh,
so
yeah. Okay.
I looked at it. It's a 9-lane roundabout. And I looked at it and I went, you know what? I can't even work this out. I said, I'm just going to put my head down, go for it, bunny hop the pavement. So that's what I did. And next thing, I had all the police, the gendarmes, all come running over with their whistles. Get off, get off, get off. I was like, what? I can't go anywhere. It's a roundabout. And they literally picked my bike up and me up and put me back on the road. I was like that. All the cars hooting. I was like, yeah, not having that.
Man, that's quite a finish.
Yeah. So then we came back home, and then that is pretty much it for that year.
That was
2017. I think.
Yeah.
I think I might have done another round Jersey 3-person relay in that year, if my memory plays me right. And then from there, 2018 was a big year. No, I'm just trying to think. No, that was 2016. So 2017, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see, my dates are 2018. I had my big year. So I started off, we did the Minkies to Jersey. So Minkies is about 12, 14 miles south of Jersey. Nobody had ever swum that before. So I swam that with a friend of mine, Ali Wood, who's another open water swimming legend from Jersey. And we did a 2-person relay, an hour at a time, rotating. And that is a small swim. It was 7 hours long. And then from there, I'm just trying to get my memory. I think from there I must have done another Jersey to France in there. So that's where the race was. So I did the Minkies first, then I did the race, and then from there I went on to do the English Channel. So I did the English Channel. That was a bit of fun and games.
What? Tell us.
It was just a beautiful day. I've purposely never gone back because I don't want to ruin the memory.
You'll never, right? Yeah.
There was no wind, there was nothing. It was pure ice on the water, and I was swimming, and my crew of 3 ladies, they were sat on the top deck of the boat having scones, strawberries, and cream and tea. And rubbing it in my face. They were just sitting there going. So I did the channel.
Was that something you'd like growing up in Jersey? Was that something that you'd kind of thought about, especially in the swimming community? Is it like it's just there? It's always there.
It's everyone's big swim, isn't it? It's right, yeah. You know, if you're going to be an open water swimmer, you've got to do the channel. And I think there's some statistic out there that Jersey has a large proportion of channel swimmers.
Oh, is that right?
per head in Jersey. So the amount of people that live here, we have more channel swimmers per person than any other.
That makes sense. Well, just because it's right there. Yeah.
And we're an island, we're all used to swimming, right?
Yeah.
So we did that, and then I came back, and then I did a Minky to Jersey solo. So I was the first person to do the solo. So that was the end of that year. And then we went on to the next year, and I decided to do a Jersey to France and back. So that was another world first. To be the first to attempt that. So that was a hard year because I had a lot of issues at home. And in my life that I was dealing with some demons and everything else. And again, there was a lack of training on that part. But I paid for the swim, and it was my situation dictated the scenario, and I elected, stupidly probably, to start it and just see how we went with it. And so far, that is probably down as being one of my toughest swims yet. Because normally when I swim, I could switch off. I go into like a meditative state and just switch off and just chill out. And that one I couldn't switch off at all. I had everything going on in my mind. So we turned round at 7 hours in France, and then we came back, slogged it back. It was a long, hard coming back. It was like 7 hours there, and then it's 12 hours coming back.
Oh, wow.
And literally just as we were off Jersey, the fog came down, and so we ended up coming down the north coast to the east coast. And then there's a bit of a discussion whilst I was swimming on where to land, because there's a ruling is that you can't land on a man-made structure.
Oh, okay.
I think it's in one of the CSPF rules that you got to land on a beach, or you can't land on a set of rocks that were built. So there's this pier at the end, and I was swimming against the tide for 25 minutes whilst they were trying to work out whether it would count if I touched the pier or not. And in the end, they ended up bringing people in the UK to get their thoughts.
Just like a conference call on the boat.
It was. And I was like, what's happening? I'm swimming. They're like, just carry on swimming. We're working it out. I was like, we'll work it out a bit quicker because there's not much left. And in the end, I just put my head up. I was like, I'm all out. I'm swimming against the tide. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm dead. It's 16 hours I've been swimming now, 16 and a half. So the pilot that I used locally, he was fab. He's great. He knows all the waters, and I'm completely I'm safe when he's alongside me. I know that for a fact. So he was like, right, what we're going to do is you go swim really hard. And when I say go, you go turn around and use the tide and swing round the back of the pier, tuck in, and then we go swim up to the beach and land you on the beach. So I was like, okay, let's give this a go. So we were swimming, and there you go. So we legged it around, and we managed to get in. Wow. And it was just under 17 hours, but it was, again, it was like my first round Jersey. It was, it taught me to go places where I didn't know where to go before. Right. And I ended up literally crawling up the beach. I was exhausted. I was hungry. And I literally just remember just crawling out of the water, clearing the water line, and just falling on my back. Yeah. And then after that, it was all a bit of a blur, if I'm honest. And some of my friends say that I kind of passed out for a few seconds. Wow. But I was just physically knackered from it. Yeah. So yeah. That's tough. And then I decided, where do you go from a double Jersey? Yeah. Or a double Jersey to France? Yeah. Where do you go? And there was, in my mind at the time, only one place you could really go. And it kind of, again, spurred me on, because Sally had done around Jersey, then she had a rest day, and then she went and did around Jersey again. And there'd always been whispers, could you do it, could you not do it, double round Jersey? But like many swims, nobody knows until somebody gives it a go. Exactly. And there's going to be one fool out there who wants to give it a go. Yeah, that was you. So I spoke to Matt and said, can it be done? And he looked at it, he worked it all out, and he says, yeah, I think so. let's give it a go. Well, there's only one way to find out. So off we set, and we set off. I think it was about 5 o'clock in the morning.
How long after the one that was physically exhausting, double Jersey to France? Like how long
It
are we
was a
next
different,
year? Different year. Okay.
yeah. So there's like 8 months. So I'd
Okay.
recovered. I'd actually put in a fair bit of training for that one,
Mm-hmm.
for the double round
Double.
Jersey.
Okay.
Some people will still say I wasn't training enough,
Right.
but
What is enough? Yeah.
what is enough? It's one of those. But I felt I was in good shape. I was the slimmest I'd been for years. It was the quickest I was swimming through the water. My technique was fine, and I was like, you know what? Let's go, give it a go. So we started off. We went round, and we had literally done the first lap, and the first lap was 10 hours 37. Wow. So it was 2 minutes quicker than the time that I did almost 17 years before.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So to me, it confirmed that if nothing else, I'm not worse than I was.
Right.
But it's so we touched the wall, and then we set straight off again on the second lap.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of it was really fun because we had the run of the tide with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite shallow, so I could see all the rocks underneath me, and I was whizzing past.
That's
and
fun.
then in the evening, we got onto the north coast. The sun came down, and it was literally pitch black, and that's when it started to have fun, because the north coast, there's no lights, and the same on the west, because it's close to the airport. There's no light, so it's completely pitch black, and the only single light there was on the boat.
Wow.
So it was one of those, and I've never changed goggles during a swim. I'm one of these ones. I've got racing ones, and they stay on, and I don't lift them, I don't alter them. And I was like, I'm not changing them. They go stay as they are, and they are the coloured lenses for the sun. So they're dark at the best of times,
right?
In the daytime. So when it got darker, I couldn't see a thing.
Yeah. Like, man, it's pitch black out here.
And then it got really pitch black.
Yeah.
And I turned the corner, and there to my amusement, my love, the lighthouse.
Yeah.
That never got any
It never
closer.
gets any closer, yeah.
And because it was a second lap, it was a completely different tide, and literally it took like 3 hours to get across the bay.
Oh wow.
And it was, yeah, again, I find myself crying on the west coast.
Yeah.
And then we turned the corner at the lighthouse, and the sun came up, or was starting to come up. It was getting lighter, and we went down the south coast pretty quick and finished. And it was really nice. It was obviously the first person to swim double round Jersey. It took 22 hours and 32 minutes, I want to say. And with that, it brought all the recognition that of doing a mammoth swim did. It got me a nomination for the British Long Distance Swim of the Year. It got me a nomination for Marathon Swim Federation Swim of the Year, and all that kind of stuff. So it was probably one of the highlights of my career so far, is that swim.
Yeah.
And then off the back of it, where do you go from a double round Jersey? And Matt, the pilot, had jokingly said, try a three-way. And then a couple of my mates had nagged me over the rest of the summer, try a three-way. And then I looked at it, and I thought, you know what? I feel good.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. So we had spoken to Matt, booked it up, three-way. Let's go 3 times around Jersey and go for a mammoth swim. And that's where it kind of all unfolded. I ended up meeting my new love of my life, Alex. And from there, we, as you do, we courted, lots of meals. I put on a bit of weight. Wasn't interested in training.
Yeah.
Tried to undertrained, I think, and I didn't train anywhere near the amount that I did the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going in a lot heavier. I was, what was I? I was 95 for the first double, 95k,
Mm-hmm.
and then the one that's just gone 2 years ago, I was 120k.
Mm.
So I'd put on the best part of 30k,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't particularly good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to give it a go, and in my mind I could get around twice,
Yeah.
and it was a case of from there you just had to hang on for 10 hours.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah, it
Or
sounds
12
awful.
or 14 or yeah.
It sounds awful now you say it, but
Yeah.
we got in, and the first hour's feed, because by then we had worked out that I feed every hour.
Mm-hmm.
Although saying that, I was feeding every 45 for all my swims before that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't, speaking to one of the crew, they suggested doing every hour, so we moved it to every hour, and the first feed just came straight back up again.
Oh.
So then and that was on the first lap. It was the very first feed. So then we went to the next one. Half of it stayed down, half came up, and literally every feed came back up again.
Is that something you'd experienced on any of your other swims? Like, no, wow, interesting.
it was the same feed, the same mix ratio, the same Ribena inside it. I think it's probably down to the fact that I was bigger, and with that your exertion is more because you're trying to pull through another 30k. So the feeds weren't staying down at all. So we got to the first lap, and my body was just not feeling it. So I was like, I want to stop there. And they were like, well, just carry on and see how you go. So, okay, fine. So we carried on. Again, the feeds were coming up, going all the way round. And I got to Corbière on the second lap, and I was like, if I stop here, can I have my swim back? And then Matt was like, no, you can't because you've already started. And so then I ended up sitting in just off Corbière for about 15 minutes with my back to the boat, just talking to myself, trying to ration with myself. Do I stop or do I carry on and just see if I can go hour to hour to hour to hour? And it's probably one of the hardest things I've had to do is make a decision to pull the swim yourself.
Yeah.
I think, thinking about it now, I would have been happier if one of the crew called it and said, you know what, you're not in the place.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
But to sit there and actually know, because it's not cheap either to swim that far around Jersey. So you're talking a couple of £1,000, and you know the minute you pull the plug and you finish, that's the end of it. You don't see it.
Yep.
So that was in the back of my mind. And then in the back of my mind was every challenge I'd set out to do, I'd hit the mark. I'd never ever failed. And then I had this big discussion with myself, and I decided, you know what, I was going to listen to my body, and I was going to say, that's enough. So I said, turn around to the boat. I said, I've had a word with myself, and I'm going to finish this lap and pull it. So then I literally swam the last hour in floods of tears as I was swimming it, because it was, I had in my heart to do 3 and to stop at 2. So I stopped at 2, got back on the boat, and because the feeds weren't staying down or anything like that, I was done. I was exhausted. So I got back on the boat, feeling sorry for myself because I'd pulled my own swim. And then we got back in the harbour, my Alex was there to meet me. So was my mum. It was quite a somber get off the
Mm-hmm.
boat and everything else. And there's a few people there going, "Oh, you should be really proud of yourself. 2 laps again. You're the only person to do 2 doubles around Jersey." And it just wasn't the same. It was like
Yeah.
I went there to do 3,
Yeah.
and in my eyes, it was a fail.
Mm.
And I came away from the swim rather than taking the positive of it was another double. I came away from it was a failed triple.
Yeah.
Came home, and the minute I got home, I passed out. That's it. Boom,
Wow.
gone.
Yeah.
So we ended up. An ambulance came, took me into
Wow.
hospital.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
Ended up with. There's a lovely picture of me somewhere. I ended up with 4 drips in me. I
Oh
was
my gosh.
severely dehydrated, and
Oh no.
I spent 7 days in hospital.
Oh my God.
Um, and my kidneys were failing,
Wow.
and I was in a pretty bad state. And they said
Yeah.
if I'd carried on, they were convinced that I wouldn't have finished the swim, and I
Wow.
probably wouldn't be here to tell the story about it either.
Holy cow. Wow.
So in a way, I listened to my body and I gave up at the
Mm.
right time, and I'm glad I did that. But I was still kicking myself about failing,
Yeah.
and it hit me for the best part of a year. It was my first fail. I actually, and it hit me hard, and it took me to even worse places that I'd never been, because
Mm.
the only thing that I ever knew how to do good, and the only thing I was good at, I had failed.
Mm. That's so
And
hard.
it's tough, and it's only obviously off the back of that, COVID kicked in.
Yeah.
So I've not swum for 2 and a bit years now. I've come
Wow.
out,
Mm-hmm.
and again, when you're the biggest you've ever been, COVID kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
I've got plenty of COVID pounds
Yeah.
everywhere.
Me too.
So I'm I yeah. They wouldn't even put me in a ring now with a heavyweight boxer. I don't think. I've got to be an extreme heavyweight boxer. um, but I kind of fell out with the sport. I fell out of love with the sport. It was
Mm.
I hit rock bottom, and it's only now that I can sit here and say, yeah, it took me to a dark place because I failed. But now I'm only starting to look at it now to say, you know what? Turn it the other way. I'm the only person on the planet to swim around Jersey twice.
Twice. Yeah.
Twice.
Twice. Exactly. That's amazing.
So it's like there's nobody else has even attempted a double round Jersey yet.
Yeah.
Saying that, there's I think next week or the week after, there's a group of 6 ladies who are between 40 and 50. They're doing it
Mhm.
as a relay,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's great. And I'm starting to look at it and take the positives out of it. That if I can encourage one person to swim,
Yeah.
then it was worth me doing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, now I've done this double round Jersey, it's opened up the route. People know it can be done. This
Mm-hmm.
relay team's going to do it.
Yeah.
It's it's encouraging people to try bigger swims, and I think
Yeah.
now with the likes of Sarah doing the 4-way,
Mm-hmm.
people are pushing themselves, which is great
Absolutely.
to see.
It
Um,
is.
so it's been tough couple of years, but I'm
It
still
is.
here. I was lucky last year during lockdown to undertake my open water qualification because I'm
Nice.
a swim teacher anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'd like to think I've got a bit of
A
um,
lot of experience to share. Yeah.
experience. So I did the qualification, and I've started my own swim business up now, Swim Smart, which
Mm-hmm.
is taken off during COVID. It's
That's great.
massive. And I've got a group of 6 white collar workers who have come together. They've never swum in open water before,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going, of course, next Friday
Wow.
to attempt the channel as a team.
Wow.
So
That's great. That's great.
it's they've been training hard, and then I'm slowly starting to look at a swim or two for myself again.
That's
and
great.
just getting back into training and just seeing how and where it goes.
Yeah. I'm excited for you, Andy. That's a I mean, that's a hard corner to turn. So, um so congratulations on making it back and looking for something for yourself again. What swim do you feel like you're the most proud of? You have a lot of amazing accomplishments. Which one really do you really the most proud of?
I would probably most proud of each of the swims is my favorite for a different reason.
Yeah.
Equally, each of the swims is my worst for another reason.
Mhm.
I would probably say the first double round Jersey,
Yeah.
because it was the fittest I was ever been. It's the quickest I was ever been,
Mhm.
and it was a world first.
Mhm.
It it took me to a new level in open water swimming that I hadn't been before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
before that, all the local swims, I was a local celeb. Everyone knew me here.
Uh-huh.
But then I started when I did the double. It started to attract people from America, Australia. They started,
Mhm.
the minute I did the swim, I started on social media. You get friend requests. It was
Mhm.
all over the world, and it just
Right.
took me to that next level.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy swam around Jersey twice.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
follow him.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's the swim that I was the most comfortable with.
Mhm.
It's a swim that my first round Jersey swim was tough. This just it was the right day, the right time, the right count, and it just all clicked.
Yeah.
And it went so smooth and it was just great.
Mhm. Mhm.
But would I do it again? No. I never say never.
Yeah,
Never say never.
exactly. Yeah.
And somebody gave me some words not so long ago. And they told me that a swim is never a failed swim unless you give up completely.
Mm.
So it's just a delayed swim.
Mm.
So by that measure, I guess a three-way is still on the table.
Yeah.
I just don't know when.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking it yet.
That's all right.
I'm booked in for next month to do around Jersey, just a solo,
Mhm.
and that'll be number 7.
Oh, nice. You can start
I
ticking them off like
that's a new plan now. Is that I
Yeah.
want to be the first to 10, and
Yeah.
then just see how many
Yeah.
more I can do.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
We are looking because the swim at the moment, you start in the south, you go east, and you keep lapping it. You turn left, and you keep turning left.
Mhm.
Now there is talk.
He says on worldwide podcast.
There is talk of if I can get fit enough
uh,
of starting on the south coast and turning right and go
mm,
the wrong way round.
fun.
Nobody's ever attempted it. They think it can't be done because of the tides,
Yeah.
but
I heard about this guy once when someone told him there was something that he couldn't do. He swam around Jersey the next day, so
yeah. Well, I'm busy tomorrow.
willing.
It's raining.
That's good. That's good.
But we are looking at it to go the wrong way round and try to become the first person to go the wrong way round Jersey
That's fun.
and see if it can be done. But it is going to be. We reckon it's going to be another 16 to 20-hour swim
Wow.
because you're going to have to
Against the yeah.
hug the coast, come in all the bays to get out the tide.
Wow.
So it's a
Wow.
lot longer.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got that. And the only other swim that is on my book, well, I've got 2, is the double channel at some point.
Mm.
There's Sally and Wendy have done the double channel from here, there, and my argument is, and it's a really lame argument, is that somebody's got to fight for the males.
Ah. Yeah.
And it'd be nice to get a male from Jersey to do the double
Yeah.
channel. So
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
think I think I've got that. And then I also you've got the Channel Islands in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I was speaking to, I think it was Ewan about it, because he's over that side. I think it was him. You've got one of them, anyway, I can't remember the name. I want to swim around the biggest one there.
Fun.
Because then I can say that I've swum around both biggest islands in both Channel Islands.
Yeah, awesome.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is to be able to say you swam around both Channel Islands.
But yeah, that's super cool.
It's, yeah. And then after that, I think it's retirement.
You're planning your retirement, but you got some big stuff that you're planning between now and then.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that I want to finish my swimming career on my terms.
Yeah.
And on a high.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I suspect I will be finishing it on a 3-way somewhere.
All right.
And it'll be sooner rather than later because I'm getting old, and yeah, I've got other priorities, family and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. I'm fighting with family priorities too. I just want to ask a couple more questions, and then we got to wrap it up. What do you think you've learned about yourself from marathon swimming? You're stubborn. Besides stubborn, you can't say stubborn.
Okay. I determined. What have I learned? Not a lot.
But you're a slow learner.
I'm stupid. I think everyone who does this sport has got a bit of stubbornness in them, right?
Yes.
You've got everyone has got to, it's not easy to swim 21 miles or 15 miles plus without being a little bit stubborn, a little bit selfish, a little bit or a lot crazy, and determined, and my detest of training, I think.
Curious. I like to use curious over crazy because we're curious about whether it can be done or not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it can be done on wherever your training is at. I'm curious if this can happen.
And I think one thing I have learned in later years is listen to the body.
Yeah.
Accept what your body can do, and don't judge and compare, because no two swims can be the same. Just because I can swim Jersey to France in said time, it doesn't mean that my training partner can do it, because it's a different day, different tide, different weather. Exactly. And I think I've always said I am more than happy to help anyone. All they got to do is ask, and don't be afraid of, no matter who you are. You could be, Matthew Webb, if he was still around.
Right.
If he needed someone to help him feed, all he has to do is ask. Don't be afraid. In my eyes, you can't take anything for granted in the sport, no matter who you are or what you've done. And
you could be,
you could be
don't take anything for granted.
You could be the top marathon swimmer in the world, but you won't be able to swim that channel without having somebody help you and support you on that boat. So don't be afraid. Don't be too on your perch or precious. To ask somebody for help. Yep. And my door is always open to anyone who, if they go to a channel and they're stuck and they can't feed, you know what? Send me a message. I'm in Jersey, but at the end of the day, if you're stuck and you want to pay for me to come over, then I'd happily sit on the boat for 20 hours and feed you. It's everyone has their own Everest. Yes. And you could sit on a bus, and it's the old cliche, you sit on a bus, the lady next to you might only be able to swim 100 meters, and she will be looking to do 200 meters. But no two people are the same. And that is her Everest. And just because now I'm pushing my boundaries to swim 22, 24 hours, not everyone's in that boat. And
everyone's boundaries are different.
You've got to remember that everyone is different, and everyone does need help at some point,
Yeah.
including those that are great.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's a very
You're
good one.
never too old to learn.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Last one.
Okay.
Who's inspired you?
Oh,
Two. You can give me two. No more than two.
two. Who has inspired me? That's really hard. Who's inspired me? I don't. Who has inspired me? I don't think. I don't think there is any one person who I can sit there and say that person has truly inspired me more than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say recently is Sarah Thomas. It's for me going from small swims to big swims. That's the benchmark, and I've always been brought up in swimming to be the best. You have to beat the best, and I look at that. I think it's safe to say I'm never going to try a 4-way channel swim.
Right.
But I do want to try for the longest open ocean swim in a tidal condition. I'm currently sitting at number 4, and it's only another 50k that makes me first place. Yeah. So that's another 1.5 laps around Jersey. Hence the 3 laps around Jersey just takes me short of the record.
Yeah.
So it's. I don't think any one person inspires me. I think it's a whole load of other things. As people push other people, you aim for the next one. But I would probably also say probably Sally and Charlie.
Yeah.
But they've inspired me by telling me the wrong thing. So it's not necessarily what they've done, or I look at them to say, wow, she's done around Jersey, I need to beat that. They've inspired me my whole swimming career by telling me that I couldn't swim around Jersey. And that's what kicked it off. So by them probably being honest at the time, because I found it tough, I've used that the whole way to say, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong. If you're telling me I can't do it, I'm going to prove to you that I can be an open water swimmer. And I've used it the whole way. So in a long way, I think that's classed as inspiring, although I'm not sure whether they meant to inspire me in the first place.
But you learned to challenge yourself like that. Well,
I've twisted it to inspire me to be stubborn, to go out and do it. So I probably look at that, but then also you can't take away what people done in swimming. And you know what? Sally, she didn't get to go this week for her swim.
I know.
And she's coming back. But she will go. And I'm deep down in me, she will do it. Yeah. And you know what? Six swims in 6 decades.
It's so awesome.
is not to be laughed at. No. It's a marathon swim, but it's a marathon. 60 years swimming is a long time. I don't think when I'm in my 60s I'll still be swimming. I hope not, because by that time hopefully I would have done my 3-way, and I'm certainly not doing 6-way around Jersey. But it's one of those. It does get you thinking, because I worked out if I do my round Jersey next month, it actually works out that it's my third in my third decade. So I'm closing down on 6 and 6. I'm 3 and 3. But you're another 30 years, 3 decades, isn't it? It's
who knows.
Keep the doors open.
Keep the doors open. Yeah.
It just blows your mind to think that how it's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be swimming. So I think lots of people inspire me in different ways. I've got some very good, close marathon swimming mates from all around the world who inspire me. You know, I was on a Zoom call the other week with a chap from India who was disabled, and
Mm-hmm.
him and his team are doing the Ocean 7, and they're doing it as a disabled relay.
That's amazing.
And to me,
That's inspirational.
it takes it to a new level, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, I can do it, but then I'm, without being too rude about it, I've got both my legs and my arms, where
Mm-hmm.
some of these people don't have legs and they're swimming the channel, and I struggle
Amazing.
doing it full bodied.
Yeah.
It's, you look at that and you go, yeah, it's a different world out there, isn't it?
It's inspirational.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for sharing your story today, Andy. I love it.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Do you want to take Marathon Swim Stories with you? Subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Want to connect with like-minded limit pushers? Join us for Marathon Swim Stories Live on Tuesdays at 5:30 a.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, 13:30 GMT. Thanks for watching.